It is now getting late into the autumn season, and I thought I would bring you all along for the day. As you would have seen, we got some rain last night, but it is now a lovely, bright and sunny morning. We have a lot on the schedule today, so I had a bit of an early morning. Luckily my parents live close to the barn, so I didn't have to leave the house too early and I was able to walk there. I began my day at about 7:30 in the morning. I plan on jumping with Levi my horse today, so prior to going to the stables, I went to the grassy field we were going to be riding in to see what damage the rain had done last night, or lack thereof, thankfully. The warm autumn sun had dried the grass and there wasn't any dangerous slippery mud patches. Levi stayed in the stables last night, so he was relatively dry and mud-free when I brought him outside to tack up. As I've mentioned in the past, Levi is a very energetic horse, and he was definitely excited to get out there today. Maybe something about the rain? It reminds me of when it rained in primary school, and the teachers always complained about crazy kids running around. Anyways, after getting him ready, I decided to warm up his muscles a bit by taking a slow walk over to the field where I would set up the jumps later. Levi and I don't ride competitively. We have lessons every once in a while, but riding is just a hobby for me right now. I would love to change that in the future, maybe when Levi and I move out from the city to our own little farm. He is getting up there in years, however, so maybe even a second horse is in the future for us. Anyways, back to the present riding though. Before bringing out any jumps, I took Levi through some gait transitioning. We weren't jumping very high today, so I kept it to a trot and a canter, much to Levi's despise. I say that, but he was really focused today. His ears keeping forwards and listening for my cues. He did throw his head a few times, but he usually does that. I just have to remind him that I am the one leading right now and to keep his pace steady. He has some thoroughbred blood in him, so maybe that's where the speed and excitement comes from. As I trained Levi today, one of the barn instructors was actually standing nearby watching over. I didn't ask him to do that and didn't even notice until someone yelled something at me, making me almost jump out of the saddle, but I didn't mind at all the critiques he sometimes called out to me. Levi and I moved on to some trot poles, really taking it slow. We went over the poles at a walk, then a working trot, an extended trot, before finally speeding up to a canter. He got lots of good boy pats, don't you even worry. There were a few times we weren't quite centered over the poles. I just need to remind myself to take a wider circle around the poles so I can properly center us, so Levi has a comfortable position to go over the jump. This will be more important when it comes to jumping, especially multiple jumps like a double or a triple. I also decided to go through the trot poles in both directions, so we got used to circling into the poles from either side and the two different leads. After Levi felt warm enough and his muscles felt relaxed, we moved on to some small jumps. I decided to only set one up in the center of the field and we will practice going over it. This jumping session was okay. A few times Levi got distracted over to the pond. There were a few ducks nesting to the side. He was also over jumping the jump almost every single time. Sometimes it was my fault. We came at the jump from a bad angle. I thought maybe he wanted more or less speed. I did add a second jump towards the end, which we went over only a handful of times, thinking that maybe having a double jump would help both Levi and I manage our strides. We did actually have a bit of a mishap. The jump is pretty fragile, and on one of the jumps, Levi's hooves clipped part of the wood, and it kind of snapped right off. He is completely fine though, and the jump is still completely jumpable. The session definitely highlighted areas for improvement, both for me as a rider and for Levi. I know I don't want to compete with him, as I said before. Riding has always just been for fun since I was a young age. I used to only lease Levi from the stables, and other riders would compete with him. I have always still wanted to make sure I rode correctly and had the skill set that if I did want to compete in the future, that was still an option for me, hence our little jump training. I have done some endurance riding with him as well, but anyways, let's just move on. I was aware of the time as we rode today. The vet was coming to the stables at 1:30. The horses here at Theodore Eckhart are being checked over today as partial parasites tend to increase in the autumn. Some horses are also receiving the influenza vaccine and some just have more general checkups as the weather changes. Because of this, after our jumping lesson, I guess you could call it, I left Levi in the stables after attacking him. The dust had really picked up this morning, so his coat was quite dusty when I brushed him. I ended up having some time between now and the vet, so I spent it doing my daily barn chores and also grabbing a quick lunch. When the vet arrived, Levi wasn't really acting like his usual self. He is usually a calm horse, despite his excitable nature, but I guess some horses still can't take people prodding them all over. He actually ended up spooking and kicking the vet a little bit. I was admittedly a bit embarrassed, but also just worried about his unusual behavior. The vet was super nice about it all. He suggested we take Levi to a more secluded area. Maybe he felt uncomfortable about everything else going on around him. This did actually help calm Levi down, and the vet was able to finish examining him. Don't worry, Levi is in peak health. It took just over an hour with all that schmozzle before the vet moved on to the other horses. After the vet, Levi finally got his pasture time for the day. We've been rotating pastures regularly in this weather, giving the grass time to regrow. We are also keeping an eye on the horses in the paddocks, especially those who enjoy grazing just a little bit too much. With a higher rain amount in autumn, it can increase the sugar content of the grass, and if they eat too much, it could lead to some health issues. I actually planned this to be the end of my stable day, but when I was putting away some things in the barn, one of the managers approached me. He asked if I wanted to ride one of the horses leased here at the stables. Their owner has been away on holidays, and their horse was being ridden by the stable hands to stretch their legs. I said yes right away, obviously. A stable hand had already tacked up the horse, so I would like to introduce you to Starlight as we go for a relaxing autumn trail ride. I can see a few clouds rolling in, so hopefully we make it back before the afternoon shower. I took my usual route out of Saint Denis, heading towards Rhodes. You know that dance you do in public when you're passing someone and not quite sure which side to go? It's even worse with horseback. Anyways, I don't often venture to the other side of Saint Denis on my rides. The Blue Water Marsh is in that direction and alligators are quite prevalent there, so I often just ride around Calico Hall and Braithwaite Manor, especially at this time of year. The leaves are gorgeous.
In the eye of time, nobody's losing. Faces merchant change, but your face remains the same. The swallows will be here by dawn.
Let me introduce Starlight though. She is an 8-year-old Arabian mare and she is a relatively new lease horse here at the barn. I've given her pats passing through and helped with her mucking out and pasture rotations in the past during my part-time work as a stable hand. She's pretty similar to Levi in some aspects, besides not being one of them. Starlight is also pretty energetic, but she is also one of the gentlest horses I've ridden. There was a moment on our trail when a rider was trying to pass us. Her instincts wanted to take over as she is a lead horse. She tried to speed up, so I held her back even slower so she would let the poor horse and rider pass without forcing me up to a gallop.
A significant life.
Her owner moved to Saint Denis from the countryside out towards Strawberry, an area I am personally dying to visit. She was the foal of a champion lineage of Arabians, bred specifically for endurance riding. She was a favorite at her previous barn and is soon becoming one here as well as she gets along with all the horses. She's kind of like the friendly, popular girl in the stables. Riding her felt different in all the ways you'd expect to riding Levi, but there was also similarities because Levi was also bred from an endurance line of horses before he became a lesson and trail ride horse here. The more you know.
We'll always remember how it felt.
As we rode along, I did begin to feel some drips from the sky, and as I expected, I didn't quite make it back to the stables, but I did kind of push the ride to be a little bit long. It started raining on us. It wasn't too heavy and honestly helped cool the both of us down as the weather had been a bit humid before, expecting the rain. We made it most of the way back to the stables in the drizzling rain before it got heavier, right before the Saint Denis Bridge. Everything seemed to happen at once at this point as my vision got more blurred. A wild boar was walking over the bridge into the city. I saw multiple rainbows. Nevertheless, we made it home. Being a grey horse, I was a little worried about the state of Starlight. I dried her off inside and cleaned some of the mud off her legs, and that seemed to do the trick, before saying goodbye for the night. The stable hands would take care of the night routine for the horses. Well, that's the end of my day. I went straight home to a warm bath and spent the rainy evening with my family. I hope you did enjoy. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this one. I made a similar one last year at Christmas if you want to see it and get ready into the winter vibes, because December is upon us. The video is on the screen right now. I love you all and I will see you all later. Bye!